everyone, my name's Crafty Yams and thank you for joining me today. If you're a returning subscriber, thanks for hanging around and thank you for clicking on this video. If you're a new subscriber, this is a channel where I talk about my hobbies, mostly cross stitch, but also gardening, houseplants, and more recently books that I'm reading. So today's video will be a Flosstube, so it will be mostly about the cross stitch pieces I've been working on. So I realize it has been quite some time since the last video. I think it was February when I last filmed a Flosstube, and that is because I have had very little time to stitch with my current job. So I'm training to be a forensic psychiatrist, and in order to do that I can only work at this one location, which is 2 hours from my house. So I've been spending 4 hours in a car every day, and that doesn't leave much time for stitching, unfortunately. But now that it's the end of the year, things are slowing down a bit at work, so I've got a bit more time to breathe and to stitch and to film. Yeah, so I thought I would give you an update on what I've been doing. The good news is that since I haven't done a video for 9 months, there is quite a lot to get through. So I suggest you get a drink, get a tea. Most of my viewers are in the Northern Hemisphere, so I'm guessing it's autumn, winter there. I'm so envious of you. I love cold weather. In Australia, we're just getting into summer and I dread the summer. From about this point onwards, I am just counting down the days when we get to that unbearable heat, and all you can really do is lock yourself in an air-conditioned room. I do not do well in the heat. So all around the year I decorate my house as if it's autumn. So I've got like pumpkin decorations. So I can just imagine, I can pretend that I live in this cooler climate when I don't. So anyway, today is not too bad. Today's a 28-degree day, but I know this is probably the beginning of the heat just ramping up. But anyway, I digress. So I'll tell you what we will go through today. So first of all, I'll show you my finishes. I've had a few finishes, and I think that's because I started all these projects around the same time. So I started them a few years ago and now they're all finishing at the same time. I'll talk about the whips that I've been doing, future plans, and then at the end I will talk about a few books that I've been reading this month. So first of all, this is the first finish I've got. This is I can't remember the name of this. Glass house? Is that a thing? The greenhouse. I don't know why I thought glass house. The greenhouse of oddities, which was a stitch along by Lola Crow, cross stitch. And this stitch along came out earlier in this year, and I am so proud that I actually finished it. I think this is the first stitch along that I have completed. Normally I'm really slow with stitch alongs. In fact, I'm still doing Lola Crow's stitch along from the previous year, the Haunted Library sale, but for some reason this one really grabbed me. It was really fun to stitch. I liked all the little elements, the plants, and the characters. Like, there was always something to stitch that was really cute, and you could finish it off in one stitching session and get that hit of dopamine. I used mostly the call for threads, but I added some petite treasure braid metallic threads too. So if you look closely, you can see on this lady's dress I've added some metallic green. On the stink flower there I've added some metallic red. And then on the chair, it's meant to say these plants can kill. Maybe it wasn't the best idea to put metallic threads there because you can't really read it, but I also modified the pattern slightly. So this little guy I added in. This is actually a skeleton that was in Lola Crow's previous sale, the Haunted Library, but I just thought he was so cute. I had to add him in this one too. And there was already another skeleton, so it wasn't too crazy. I stitched this on 28 count. I find that's the best count for me. I don't have to squint or hunch over too much to stitch on this. And I've just finished it in a simple frame. I figured there were already so many details that a plain frame is best. I've had some trouble finding the best place to put this in my house, so I've already changed its location 3 times. I found if I put it up too high, you can't really appreciate all the details, and then some areas of my house are quite dark, so you still can't see it. So I haven't found the perfect place for it yet, but I will keep looking. So that's that one. I also did metallic threads in the roof of the greenhouse, and I think that turned out nicely. I love the crows in this as well. So my next finish is, this is Wheel of the Year by the Wishing Thorn. I started this quite a while ago, I think 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, and I've slowly been chipping away at it since then. So this is a representation of the different seasons of I think it's based on the pagan calendar, and each of these lines represents a different season. So you have Yule here, Imbolc, Ostara, Midsummer, Lammas, Mabon, I don't know if I'm saying these right, and Samhain, which I think is winter. I guess that's autumn. This is one of those patterns that as soon as I saw it, it just grabbed me. I knew I had to stitch this. I wanted this in my house. It was really fun to stitch because it had all these different specialty stitches, so you weren't just doing crosses the whole time. You can see here with the dream catchers, that was a specialty stitch. I can't remember what this one is called, but that's a particular specialty stitch. Some back stitching here. There was also some beading in this, not too much beading, it wasn't too onerous, but you can see some beads here. There's also some beads in the border. Oh, where are they? Oh, not there. They're here. They're not too obvious, but that one's falling off. But they were not too difficult to put in. The threads are just whatever I had in my stash, and I added some of the variegated cottage garden threads. The actual pattern called for some Mill Hill treasures, trinkets I think they're called, like these little moon beads here, but I couldn't find them anywhere online. I tried buying other moon-shaped trinkets, but nothing really looked very good. They all looked very clunky and out of place. I think because this pattern is so delicate and has so many fine details, what if I was to add a treasure, it would have to be something very small, very fine, which I just couldn't find. So I've left it without those, but I think it looks okay regardless. I wasn't sure the best way to frame this. I just happened to have this frame, so I used it. I'm not a big fan of all this white space I've left. I don't know. If you've got any ideas for a better way to frame this, then please comment below, because I'm not 100% happy with the framing. I've just put this on a sticky board, so I can just take it out and put it in a new frame and cut it if I need to. But yeah, I think I will reframe this at some point. I have got another finish, but I don't know where I put it. One second. So this is my next finish. This is the pattern, not my finish obviously, but it's by Mojo Stitches. It's called In the Library. This is one I started a couple of years ago. I haven't framed this yet, but I love this piece. So I really like this ivy border. It's something that I thought was quite unique. I hadn't seen a border like that before, and with the moths as well. It's just such a pretty border. And the design itself, I really liked. I like all the knickknacks in the shelf. You can see there's a tabby cat. There's a Tiffany lamp, which I think Mojo Stitches, Joanna, designed really beautifully. There's houseplants in there, glasses. It's just got everything. This was stitched with cottage garden threads, so I used the called for threads. It's on 28 count. The pattern was for a 1/1 stitch, but I did 2/1 because I was stitching on a higher count fabric, lower count fabric, and I wanted more definition in the books and the things in the image. So I'm yet to frame this. I was thinking of putting this next to my actual bookshelves, but I'll see where it looks best. Some of these knickknacks, I'm not quite sure what they are. So there's one here that's a round thing. Maybe it's meant to be like a ceramic thing, bowl. And then this, I'm not sure, but anyway, it's still really pretty. Okay, so those are actually all my finishes. I guess it's not that many for 9 months, but I mean, it's still, there are things that were finished. I'll move on to my whips. So this is the new stitch along by Lola Crow. The actual stitch along's finished now, but I'm still, I'm a bit behind with it. And this was called, what was it called? It's the aquarium one. I can't remember the full name of it. Something to do with an aquarium. I'll write it down below. But this is my progress so far. It's a bit wrinkled, but again, I was really drawn to this design. I love the ocean, and my son is really obsessed with sharks, and this design features a few sharks at the top, hammerhead sharks, so I'm planning to make it for him. I love this little moray eel in the treasure box. I think that's called a butterfly fish. And there's the stonefish, scorpion fish at the bottom. So they're all quite like poisonous sea creatures in this design. So I'll keep going with this. It might take me a while, but I will finish it eventually. And I've used the cold for threads, and this is just I think it's a casual linen 28 count in a mint green, which I thought worked well with that certain colour scheme. So a few more whips. This is a bag, stitching bag I've made, my one and only project bag that could be bothered sewing. This design was actually an Owlforest embroidery sale from a few years ago, but I stitched it on this really annoying fabric. I think it's Witchelt linen. It's just like really scratchy and not nice to work with. So I kind of gave up after the first plant. In this sale there were like 12 different plants. Oh, it was a house plant sale actually. And I didn't want to waste this, so I thought I'd make it into a bag. And this is, who's this by? This is Witching Hour by Nora Corbett. And it's got only a few colours, but a lot of, maybe not a lot of, but some beading. And yes, I haven't gotten too far on this one. I should probably hurry up and finish this. It's been sitting in my whip pile for a while. I think I just get a bit bored with the lack of colour changes, and there's so much black on this. I'll stitch it for a bit and then put it down, but eventually hoping to finish it. Just got my pile of whips dumped on the floor, so I'm grabbing them at random. But this is one I started recently. This was a really cool charity pack. So it's called Spellbound Stitches Volume 3, and it's a set of 27 bookmarks that you can purchase, and the proceeds go to charity. So there's a whole range of designers involved in this. I don't know if you can read them all, but it includes Bad Stitch, Bendy Stitchy, Flossie Fox Shop, Lola Crow, just heaps of really cool indie designers. And you can purchase this if you make a donation to one of the listed book charities. There are a few different ones, and you make a donation of $15, I think, and you get these 27 patterns. And I really like how the book's laid out. Sorry, the book is in pieces because, well, I printed it out, but then my son found it and for some reason decided to pull apart all the pages and lay them out on the ground. So it's a bit out of order. But the bookmarks are all kind of grouped into different book categories, which I thought was cool. I love the fantasy bookmarks. So I was really drawn to this one, and that's from Bogdragoncrafts. So I started stitching that one. That's what I'm up to so far. Just stitching this on a Ada linen because it's a full coverage. There's no point using fancy linen. I've used threads from my stash, so it's not exactly the right color. Well, I mean, it's close, but I've used some more vibrant blues and oranges. I just really like this sword in the stone design, and from the model stitch you kind of see there's also this dystopian looking background, and I just like the contrast between this kind of medieval sword and this weird sci-fi tower. Yeah, so I've never actually stitched a bookmark before. Not sure how to finish this. I think I'll just iron on some fusible interfacing and then add another layer of Ada maybe on the back and hope that it's firm enough. I guess I could put cardboard in it. Yeah, but this is quicker to stitch than my other pieces, so I'm hoping I can get this done in the next month and maybe pick some other bookmarks up from the book as well. So this is an Owlforest embroidery that I've picked up. It's from a series of 3 patterns. The series is called Harvest Season. So this is tomatoes. There's also pickles, and there's one other one. I can't remember what it is, maybe strawberries. But I got the tomato one. This was actually hard to find, I think, because we can't order things from the Owlforest store, but they don't ship to Australia. So I found this on Etsy. Then I had to buy the threads in a separate site that I found them on. So it took a while to piece everything together, but I got there eventually. What's this? Yeah, this is what I'm up to. Oh no. Spilled tea on my cross stitch, so now it's got this tea stain here, but I'm hoping it will most of it won't be in the finished design. I guess I can just wash it at the end. Maybe I can just tea stain the whole thing. I don't know. I like the simple shapes and colors in this. It'd be a good piece for the kitchen, I think. I don't actually even like tomatoes. I hate tomatoes, but I like looking at them. Okay, what else have I got? Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I haven't worked on this one for a while. I guess this would be a good one to stitch in summer because It is the Summer Quaker by Lila's Studio, though I'd rather just be in denial and pretend it's a perpetual autumn here. But this is very summery. I like this because it sort of reminded me of Moby Dick. I think it's got a whale in there. Yeah, it's definitely got a whale. Just that I really like that seaside town design. I find seaside towns very calming when they're depicted in cartoons in particular. So this one, it's also got a lot of geometric shapes. I guess that's the Quaker element. But I like how it's a mix of Quakers and also with a traditional kind of design in the middle. I haven't made too much progress on this. Which way does it go? So I've done, oh, I guess I have made maybe a fair bit. Done this upper corner at least. I like the colour that Lila, I think her name is Lila Studio has chosen. I really like this muted blue and also this pinky red and how they like match together. Yeah, so this will, oh, and the crab is pretty cool. This will probably take me a while, but maybe I'll finish it by the end of summer here, who knows. Okay, this is one that I've worked on a bit in the last few months. So this is from Yasmins Made with Love. I think I actually won this pattern in a giveaway a couple of years ago, but it's called Love Makes Everything Easy. I think I can find the cover picture. No, I don't actually have the cover picture, but anyway, I really like the 70s feel of the colours and the flowers. I've cut my Ada dangerously small and very close to the edges. I think when I finish it, I will have to stitch some more fabric around it or put it in a frame and glue some trim to the outside. Yeah, but this one's a pretty design. I really like the font as well. Okay, I think I've only got one more to show you of the whips and then I'll talk about my plans. So this is a chatelaine. There's two chatelaines I'm working on, but this is the one I've worked on the most. And this is mushroom and fern mandala. Actually, I probably worked on the other one the most, but so I'll put a picture of the full piece here, but this is just a central mandala. I find this really difficult to work with just because it's so large and ungainly, and I haven't found a frame that really lets me stitch on this comfortably. I've tried Q-snaps, the biggest size Q-snap I could find, which is only 50 centimeters, and this is like a meter. I've tried a lap stand, but again, that was not big enough. I don't know, if you've got any suggestions for how to stitch this, what to put it in. I've seen people put it in a floor frame, I think they're called, with big rolly things, but I don't think they sell them here in Australia. But if you've got any recommendations for what I can possibly stitch this bed sheet with, then please let me know. So this chatelaine will probably take me a lifetime to complete. It's huge, and I haven't done myself any favors by starting two at once. I'll see what else I can find. Oh good, so this is the second chatelaine I'm working on, which is Poison Garden. This is the one I've actually done the most on. Okay, so this is the central mandala. I've been doing mostly the beading on this, so you can see there's a lot of beading. It's very dense, as all chatelaines are. I actually didn't mind the beading. I kind of liked switching between beading and specialty stitches and normal stitches, but it just takes an extremely long time. I think I started this a few years ago, and I don't always pick it up to work on. You have to be in the mood to do this. It's got to have your whole area set up with all the different like the beading needles, the threading needles. Yeah, and again, I've got the same problem of it being huge. I normally stitch in hand rather than in a frame, but that's just not possible with a fabric of this size. So again, I've got the same problem where I don't know the best way to kind of manage this while I'm stitching is. But yes, if you have suggestions, I'm happy to try out other means. Yeah, so I was just trying to use these Q snaps, but it's just way too big to fit on those. I actually think that's it for the whips. I'll show you some patterns I picked up. So these were from the Nashville Needlework Market from earlier this year. I really love these designs by Mojo Stitches. This one I thought was just gorgeous. It's called Over the Stream by the Mill, and it just reminds me of Blue Willow, you know, the Blue Willow ceramics. It looks like a quick stitch. It should be relatively quick to do. Planning to do that sometime this year. There's only a few colours, 5 colours in this as well. I picked up another one also by Mojo Stitches. It's called My Apple Tree, and it says, even if I knew that tomorrow the world would, I'm trying to read this backwards, even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree. And I think that's just so cute. I mean, the state of the world is quite despairing and hopeless at the moment at times, but looking at this just made me feel a bit better about that. And I think there's a stitch with cottage garden threads. That's the thread list. I really like working with cottage garden threads. And this is very cute. It's got apple blossoms, apples. I think those are some vegetables, some produce. But yes, this will probably be the next thing I stitch. I also picked this one up. I hadn't heard of this designer before, Cherry Blossoms Quilting. It says it's designed by Cherry Gaudry. But I like the design of these owls. They're so cute. It says family makes life beautiful. So I thought that would be a nice one to have in the house. And oh, it calls for Weeks Dye Works thread. So yeah, there is a bit of variegation you can see in the owls. I haven't kitted these up yet, but I will do that at some point. And oh, I have one more whip I forgot to show you. So this is our Owlforest kit. It is called, it's not in English. I think it's called Fish Stew. I've had this whip going for a while. I really like the Owlforest kits. They come with really quality things in them. So the needle minder is like solid and nicely designed. The threads, they give you the bobbins, which are already labeled. I just wish they were more readily available. It's hard to get a hold of these. I think I got these from Etsy at some ridiculously priced because it was from an American store that bought it and reshipped it. But anyway, I'm still in the central motif area with the lobsters and the, oh, these chilies. Maybe these are chilies. Fish, fire. This is another one that would be good in the kitchen. So that's it for the stitching. I'm going to briefly talk to you about some book recommendations. So I will show you one book that I didn't like, one book that I did like, and one book I'm planning to read. Okay, so I'll start with a book that I'm currently reading or will read in the next month. This is called Lucy Undying and it's by Kirsten White. This was recommended in a book club at a local bookstore. So I bought it planning to go to this book club, but then I didn't finish it in time. I haven't actually been to a book club before. I was also a bit daunted by the idea, and I thought if I hadn't finished it, I'm not allowed to go. I don't know how they work, but I will. And then the book for the next round of the book club is one that I really didn't like. It's called Funny Story by Emily Henry. So I was like, I probably just won't go to this type of book club. But this book I really enjoyed. I also really love the cover. Like, I feel like if this was a painting, I would just put it on my wall. See, she's got werewolves in her hair. But this is a retelling of Dracula from the point of view of Lucy, who was one of Dracula's wives. I read the original Dracula a long time ago, and I don't actually remember anything about it, but it was still enjoyable to read this, so I don't think you need to know all about the different characters in Dracula to read this, because the characters are all reimagined anyway. It's from a queer feminist lens. I've only read the first few chapters, but I've found it really fun to read so far. It's written in a really unique way, so there's multiple perspectives from different periods in time. So there's a Dracula perspective, there's a Lucy perspective, but the Lucy perspective is in the 1890s, so before she turned to a vampire. And then you have a modern day perspective by Iris. So the writing style in all these perspectives are different. So Iris, which is the modern day character, is written in more of a conversational, casual tone, which is normally a bit hit and miss for me. I find when books are really casual in their prose, it can either be done really well or just really poorly. I find I don't like it in fantasy books. It just feels a bit jarring, but it worked well in this, I think, particularly because it's set in today. And she makes references to modern TV shows. Like, I think she made reference to The Last of Us, that zombie show. And I think it worked well in this format. The more historical points of view are written in a more formal kind of prose. And what I like about this book is the chapters are super short. So you'll basically 2 or 3 pages and then you go to another point of view. And sometimes I don't have the best concentration for reading, particularly if it's been a long day, I'm home, I just want to relax and not tax my brain too much. And this was really good for that. So I would read a chapter and just when I started losing concentration, it'd be a new chapter with a different perspective, and that kind of kept me going. So I haven't finished this one yet, but I'm going to keep reading this. So this is a book I didn't like. This was also a vampire book, strangely enough. Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is quite a popular book on BookTok. It's a romantasy, so a fantasy book with romance elements. I heard it recommended as being like a really good book in that romantasy genre, which is why I got it, but I just couldn't get into it. I like stylistically the way the book looks, and the what's it called, the naked hardback, I think they call it, is really pretty. And the font, I like the font. I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel about the things I like about it, but it's laid out in a really pretty way, and you've got the chapters and they look nice, and the paper smells nice. But the actual book wasn't for me. I feel like I've already read so many books like this that there was nothing really creative or original in it. You follow a human girl, I think her name's Rain, spelled R-A-I-H-N, and she is adopted by this vampire king when she's young. Her family's killed, and she lives up with this powerful vampire guy who acts like a father figure for her. So when you start the story, she wants to enter these deadly trials, this deadly competition run by a vampire god, vampire queen, and she wants to finish the trials because at the end you get a wish, and her wish is to combine powers with this adoptive father. Like the premise wasn't that strong for me. It didn't make much sense why someone would do this. It just felt like there's this tournament contest trope in a lot of young adult or fantasy books like the Hunger Games, and it felt like that was just inserted into this. So I read about 20 or 30% of it. There's also a love interest that felt also very tropey, like a dark vampire who's probably nice inside. Like I just couldn't get past 20% of this book. Another book that I really liked that I read last month is called The Weekend by Charlotte Wood. So this is written by an Australian author. I really like all of her books. She wrote, the first book was called The Natural Way of Things. If you haven't read any of hers before, I'd say to start with that one. But she writes it from a really interesting feminist or strong female, with a strong female voice is what I'm trying to say. So in this particular book, The Weekend, it follows a group of women in their 60s who were all friends since childhood, and recently one of the friends in this group of friends passes away, so they all have to go to her house and pack up her belongings together. And it was really unique because I'd never actually read a book that's centered around women in their 60s. Normally in books, the main character will be in their 20s, early 30s at the oldest, or teens. And characters that are older are sort of cast in these trope roles, like a witch or someone's grandmother, but they're not really the center of the story. And in this book, it was the opposite. They were the strong leads in the story, this group of women. And it really was quite empowering to read. And they speak about really interesting things about friendships and how they change in old age. Also about aging itself, particularly when a woman ages. And the story, I'm making it sound a bit dark and serious, but the story is actually quite lighthearted and fun. One of the characters sort of reminds me of Blanche from the Golden Girls. She kind of doesn't want to age and still wants to she wants to be a theatre star. Well, she was a famous kind of TV star when she was younger, but now she's older and dealing with that. I would recommend this book. I actually listened to the audiobook and that was narrated really well. So if you're into audiobooks, you can try that. Thanks so much for watching. I'm hoping now that things have slowed down a bit, I'll be able to post more regularly, either a Flosstube or a book video every couple of months. I really like sharing my obsessive niche hobbies with you all. So please leave a comment below, like the video, and I will also post the links to my Instagram and to the patterns and things I've talked about today. See you next time.